The alarm clock rang at 6 in the morning, but Melissa Clark was already awake. She lay in her small one-room apartment in the Montrose neighborhood, staring at the ceiling with its yellow water stains. Outside, morning Houston bustled. Car horns, seagulls squawking over the bay, the distant rumble of trucks on Interstate 45. 22 years old, and she was still here, in this city of opportunities that somehow always seemed to be for everyone else. Melissa got up from the sagging sofa that served as her bed and walked over to the window. The view was of the parking lot of a nearby shopping center and an old car wash. Nothing special, but it was hers. She had been renting this apartment for 3 years, ever since she graduated from high school, and decided not to return to her hometown of Beaumont to her alcoholic mother and stepfather, who looked at her too often. The refrigerator contained half a carton of expired yogurt and the remains of Chinese food from 3 days ago. Melissa drank some water from the tap and began to get ready for work. Her job at the Sunset Cafe earned her $80 a day at best, and the rent for the apartment was $1,200 a month. The math was simple and brutal. The Sunset Cafe was located in the business district of Houston, in the shadow of glass skyscrapers belonging to oil companies. Melissa took a 40-minute bus ride to get there, changing routes on Main Street. She knew the schedule by heart and knew where to sit so she wouldn't end up next to a drunk homeless man or an aggressive teenager. The big city had taught her to be careful. At the cafe, she was just another waitress among 4 other girls. The owner, Mr. Chen, wasn't mean, but he wasn't kind either, just a tired Chinese man trying to support his family and pay his taxes. He knew Melissa was smart. He saw how she helped the other waitresses with their English, how quickly she counted change and memorized orders. But a smart girl in a cafe gets paid the same as a stupid one. "Melissa, table number 7 wants the check," shouted Rosa, a colleague from El Salvador who had been working here for 10 years. Melissa took the checkbook and approached the table where a man in an expensive suit was sitting. He was about 45, with neatly combed hair and a gold watch on his wrist. There were many like him in the cafe, businessmen who needed a quick bite to eat between meetings. "How much is it?" he asked, without looking up from his phone. $23.50, Melissa replied, placing the bill on the table. The man looked up and noticed her for the first time. His gaze was appraising but not unpleasant. He studied her face, her figure, her manner. "What's your name?" he asked. "Melissa." "That's a beautiful name." "I'm Richard Stone." He handed her his credit card and business card. "I own several businesses in town, a yacht club, a restaurant, a couple of other projects." Melissa took the card. It read, "Richard Stone, Managing Partner, Stone Marine Group." "You look like someone who wants more out of life," Stone said as she handed him back his card after paying. "Everyone wants more," Melissa replied cautiously. "But not everyone is willing to fight for it. I have an offer for ambitious women. Good money, respectable work. If you're interested, give me a call." He left a $50 tip and left. Melissa stood there with his business card in her hand, not sure how she felt. $50 in tips was more than she made in half a day. After work, she met Jamie Wilson at the Roadhouse Bar on Washington Avenue. Jamie was 6 years older, and they had met a year ago at the gym. Jamie always looked good and was always well off, although she said she worked as a sales manager for some company. "You look pensive," Jamie said, ordering 2 martinis. Melissa told her about the strange client and his offer. Jamie listened attentively and took the business card. "Stone, I know him. He really owns a yacht club. He's an influential man in town." "Do you think he's serious?" Jamie paused, twirling her glass. "Melissa, do you know what I really do?" "Sales?" "Not exactly. I work with wealthy men. I accompany them to events, travel with them, keep them company. It's called Escort services, and it's not what you think." Melissa felt a chill in her stomach. "Jamie, listen to me. I'm not talking about prostitution. I'm talking about being a beautiful, intelligent woman with a man who can afford it. Sometimes it's business dinners, sometimes the theater, sometimes a weekend on a yacht. I make more in one night than you do in a month." Melissa was silent, thinking about her friend's words. Is it safe? If you work with the right people, yes. Stone is one of them. He organizes everything at the highest level. He checks clients and ensures safety. He has 5 girls working for him, all educated, all knowing the rules. What if I don't want to, you know? No one is forcing you. There are clients who really just want company, businessmen who don't want to go to a corporate party alone, elderly widowers who need someone to talk to, politicians who need a beautiful companion for a charity event. Jamie took a thick wad of cash out of her purse. This is for last week, $4,000, for 4 nights. Melissa's breath caught in her throat. 4,000 was more than she earned in 3 months at the cafe. Think about it, Jamie said. But if you decide to do it, don't delay. Stone doesn't like to be kept waiting. Melissa didn't sleep that night. She paced around her small apartment, thinking about the offer. 4,000 a week. In 6 months, she could save up for college. In a year, she could make a down payment on a decent apartment. She thought about her mother in Beaumont, who drank herself to death. About her stepfather, who worked in a factory and came home angry and drunk every night. About how she had left home with $300 and a dream of a better life. Houston was a city of oil tycoons and tech startups, a city where millions were made, and she was serving coffee for minimum wage. She was surrounded by people who spent more on dinner than she earned in a day. Why should she settle for crumbs? In the morning, she called the number on the business card. "Mr. Stone, this is Melissa from the cafe. I'm interested in your offer." "Great. Let's meet at the Yacht Club at 6 today. I'll send you the address." The Galveston Bay Yacht Club was located in an upscale neighborhood by the bay. Melissa had never been to a place like this before. Snow-white yachts bobbed on the water like expensive toys. Men in polo shirts and women in summer dresses sipped cocktails on the restaurant terrace. Stone met her in the lobby. He was wearing a light jacket and looked even more impressive than he had at the cafe. "I'm glad you came. Let's talk in my office." The office was furnished with expensive furniture and paintings with marine themes hung on the walls. The window overlooked the bay. "Jamie said you were a friend of hers," Stone began. "She spoke very highly of you. She told me about your business." "Okay, then I'll be blunt. I provide escort services for a select group of clients. Politicians, businessmen, visiting investors, people who need beautiful, intelligent company at official events." He took a folder with photos out of the desk. "These are my girls. They are all students or young professionals. They work on their own terms, on conditions that suit them." Melissa leafed through the photos. Beautiful, well-groomed girls in expensive dresses against the backdrop of restaurants and hotels. "What exactly will be required of me?" "Accompanying clients to events, being able to hold a conversation, good manners, sometimes weekend trips, everything within the bounds of decency. And if a client wants more, that's up to you. I don't force anyone. But to be honest, girls who are more flexible in their communication earn more." Stone named his figures. $500 per evening just for escorting. $1,000 for the weekend. Additional bonuses for special services. "I need to think about it," Melissa said. "Of course. But if you decide to do it, I have a meeting with a potential investor from Dallas tomorrow evening. He needs company for dinner at Vic and Anthony's. It's a simple event, nothing complicated." Melissa shook his hand and left. On the way back, she counted in her head. $500 for one evening. That was more than she earned in a week at the cafe. She imagined herself in a beautiful dress, in an expensive restaurant, next to a successful man. She imagined the money piling up in her bank account, how she could finally afford a normal life. It wasn't the life she had dreamed of as a child, but it was the life that could give her what she wanted: freedom, security, choices. That evening, she met with Jamie again. "I've made up my mind," Melissa said. "I'm going to try it." The next day, Melissa called Stone and agreed to meet with the investor from Dallas. He scheduled her for a meeting at a boutique on the Galleria at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. "You need to look the part," Stone said on the phone. "We'll take care of that today." The elegant boutique was located in Houston's most expensive shopping mall. Melissa had never shopped there before. The prices were astronomical. Stone was already waiting for her at the entrance, accompanied by an elegant woman in her 50s. "Melissa, this is Victoria Lambert, my stylist. She'll help you with your wardrobe." Victoria gave Melissa a professional once-over. Good assets. Height, figure, features, just needs to be presented right. She turned to Stone. "Standard package?" "Yes, 3 evening dresses, casual clothes, shoes, accessories." The next 2 hours turned into a real makeover. Melissa tried on dresses that cost more than she earned in a month. Victoria taught her how to walk in high heels, how to hold a glass, how to sit in a short dress. "Remember the most important rule," Victoria said, adjusting Melissa's posture. "You're not a girl from the suburbs. You're a successful young woman who can afford the best. Act like it." When the fitting was over, Stone paid with his credit card without even looking at the bill. $8,000 for one shopping trip. "It's an investment," he said, noticing Melissa's surprise. "My girls have to look like $1,000,000. That evening, Melissa met her client in the lobby of the Four Seasons Hotel. James Collins was a man in his 50s who owned a chain of car dealerships in Dallas. He looked tired and a little nervous. "It's very nice to meet you," he said when Stone introduced them. "Rick has told me a lot about you." Dinner was at Vic and Anthony's, one of the most expensive steakhouses in town. Melissa tried to act natural, but she was constantly thinking about every word and movement. Collins turned out to be a pleasant conversationalist, talking about his business and asking about her interests. "I recently got divorced," he confessed over dessert. 30 years of marriage came to an end. "I'm not very good at talking to women right now." "Divorce is always hard," Melissa said, "but it's also a new beginning." Collins smiled. "You're very wise for your age. Rick said you're studying business?" Melissa nodded, although it wasn't entirely true. She really wanted to go to college, but so far, it had remained just a dream. After dinner, Collins asked her to walk him back to his room. Melissa felt nervous. She didn't know what to expect. "Let's just sit and talk," he said, noticing her tension. "I just don't want to be alone." They sat in the room for an hour, discussing books, movies, and plans for the future. Collins was a lonely man who just needed someone to talk to. When Melissa got ready to leave, he gave her $500 in cash and another $200 on top of that. "Thanks for a wonderful evening," he said. "I hope we'll see each other again." Melissa left the hotel with $700 in her purse and a strange feeling of relief. It hadn't been as scary as she thought it would be. The next day, Stone invited her to the Yacht Club for a business meeting. 4 girls were already sitting in the conference room, the same ones whose photos she had seen in the folder. "Meet Melissa, the new member of our team," Stone said. Alexis was a 25-year-old blonde, a law student at the University of Houston. She had been working for Stone for 3 years and was the informal leader of the group. "Welcome to the club," she said with a hint of irony. "Rick told me about your first night. Collins is a sweet old man, isn't he?" Gabriella, a 23-year-old Latina, was studying international relations. She specialized in clients from Mexico and South America. "The main rule," she told Melissa, "is never fall in love with a client. It's a job, and you have to remember that." Natasha, a red-haired girl in her mid-20s, was an actress who moonlighted as an escort between auditions. She was the most experienced member of the group. "Clients vary," she explained. "Some just want to talk. Others, well, you know. Always remember, you're in control. If you don't like a client, call Rick right away." The fourth was Sarah, the youngest, only 20 years old. She was studying at a medical college and working to pay for her tuition. "The money's good," she said quietly. "But sometimes I think about what my mom would say if she found out." Stone gave them a safety briefing. Each girl had a special alarm button linked to his phone. All meetings took place in safe locations. Clients were pre-screened. "I take care of my girls," he said, "but you have to be careful too." After the meeting, Alexis invited Melissa for coffee. "I want to give you some advice," she said as they sat down at a cafe near the yacht club. "Rick is a good man, but he's a businessman first and foremost. To him, we're a commodity, an expensive, high-quality commodity, but a commodity nonetheless." "What do you mean?" "The clients pay Rick, and he splits it with us, but he takes more than half. Plus, he has special clients who pay for extra services. Big money." Melissa felt uneasy. "What kind of extra services?" "Well, you know, not all clients are satisfied with dinner conversation. Some want more." "What if I don't want to?" "Then you get regular clients like Collins. But if you want to make really good money..." Alexis shrugged. "Rick doesn't force anyone, but he remembers who brings in the most profit." That same night, Melissa received a message from Stone. "New client, meeting tomorrow at 7 p.m. Robert Hayes, oil tycoon, charity auction at the Museum of Fine Arts." Hayes met her in the museum lobby. He was a man in his 60s with gray hair and piercing eyes. Wealth was evident in his every movement. "Rick said you're new," he said, looking her up and down. "Good. I like fresh faces." The auction was held in a large hall filled with Houston's elite. Melissa recognized faces she had seen in the news and magazines. Politicians, business people, socialites. "See that man in the corner?" Hayes whispered, pointing to a large man in an expensive suit. "That's Thomas Harris, the Harris County Sheriff, a very useful man for business." Melissa nodded, memorizing the face. "And that woman at the bar is Judge Margaret Stone. She's married to our Rick. She doesn't know about his side business." It was a revelation. Melissa didn't know Stone was married, let alone that his wife was a judge. "Rick is a very careful man," Hayes continued. "He knows how to do business in this town. He knows who to pay, who to fear, and who to use." After the auction, Hayes invited her to his apartment in the upscale River Oaks complex. The apartment was huge, with a view of the city center. "Would you like a drink?" he asked. Melissa agreed to a glass of wine. Hayes was an experienced conversationalist, telling stories from the world of big business and sharing his plans. "Do you know the difference between the rich and the poor?" he asked. "The poor think money is evil. The rich know that money is a tool." "What if the tool is used for bad purposes?" Hayes laughed. "Girl, in our world, there are no bad or good purposes. There are only effective and ineffective methods." He moved closer to her. "Rick said you understand business. That's good. Smart girls live better than stupid ones." Melissa felt the situation becoming tense. "I have to go," she said, standing up. "Of course," agreed Hayes. "But think about what I said. You can live well in this town if you know the rules of the game." He handed her $1,000 and his business card. "Call me personally if you want to talk more." The next day, Melissa met Jamie at their usual bar. "How's the new job?" her friend asked. "It's strange," Melissa admitted. "The money is good, but I feel like I'm getting into something bigger than I thought." "What do you mean?" Melissa told her about her conversation with Hayes, what she had learned about Stone's wife and his connections to the local authorities. "Jamie, did you know about this?" Jamie paused, twirling the ring on her finger. "Melissa, I've been in this business for 5 years. I know how it works. Yes, Rick doesn't just organize escort services. He has clients who want more than just dinner company." "And you?" "I do what I think is necessary, and I get good money for it. But I don't judge anyone for making different choices." "But it's illegal." "Technically, yes. But look around you. Half the city's elite use these services. Do you think anyone's going to investigate?" Melissa thought about her friend's words. In 2 weeks, she had earned more than she had in 2 months working at the cafe. She bought new clothes, moved into a better apartment, and began to feel more confident. But something inside her told her that she was standing on the edge of a precipice. The world she had entered was beautiful and dangerous at the same time, and she didn't yet understand all its rules. That evening, Stone called her. "Melissa, I have a special offer for you. Tomorrow evening, there's a private party on my yacht. Several important clients from Austin will be there. It's good money, $2,000 for the evening. What exactly will I have to do?" "Just be yourself, beautiful, smart, charming. The rest will depend on the circumstances." Melissa felt her heartbeat quicken. $2,000 for one night was an amount that could change her life. "Okay," she said, "I'll do it." Hanging up the phone, she stared at her reflection in the mirror for a long time. The girl looking back at her looked successful and confident, but inside, she was still the same scared waitress who didn't know where her new life was taking her. The Seabreeze yacht was a veritable floating palace. 40 meters long, 3 decks, luxurious cabins, and salons. Melissa had never seen anything like it. When she boarded on Saturday evening, the sun was setting over Galveston Bay, painting the water in golden hues. "Welcome aboard," Stone greeted her. He was wearing a white jacket and looked like a real captain. "Tonight is a special evening. Our guests from Austin are very influential people." Alexis and Natasha were already on the yacht. Gabriella and Sarah were due to arrive later. The girls were dressed in expensive cocktail dresses. Their hair and makeup were flawless. "Remember what I said about big money?" Alexis whispered to Melissa as she approached her. "Tonight is the night." The first guests arrived at 7:30. Melissa immediately recognized one of them. It was Congressman David Riley, whom she had seen on television. He was accompanied by 3 other men in expensive suits and a middle-aged woman in an elegant dress. "Gentlemen, allow me to introduce our charming companions," said Stone when everyone had gathered in the main salon. Melissa was introduced as a young marketing consultant. She quickly realized that each of the girls had been given a cover story. Alexis was a lawyer, and Natasha was an artist. Congressman Riley turned out to be a pleasant conversationalist. He talked about politics and asked Melissa for her opinion on various issues. She tried to answer intelligently, but not too categorically. "You are a very perceptive young woman," he said at dinner. "Rick knows how to choose people." The dinner was relaxed. The guests drank expensive wine and discussed business and politics. Melissa began to relax, thinking that the evening would be as harmless as the previous meetings. But after dinner, the atmosphere changed. Stone invited the guests to the VIP lounge on the upper deck. There was an expensive sound system, a bar with premium alcohol, and several comfortable sofas. "Now it's time to party," said one of the guests, a man in his mid-40s who introduced himself as Michael Thorne. Stone took several small packets of white powder from the bar. "Anyone want to perk up?" he asked with a smile. Melissa felt all her muscles tense up. She had never done drugs and didn't want to start. "I don't do drugs," she said quietly. "No problem," Stone replied. "No one's forcing anyone." But Congressman Riley and 2 other men accepted the offer. Half an hour later, their behavior had changed noticeably. They were more relaxed, laughing louder, and gesturing more. "Melissa, do you dance?" Riley asked, approaching her. She agreed, and they began to move slowly to the music. But the congressman's hands were becoming increasingly intrusive. "You know, I can do a lot for you," he whispered in her ear. "I'm an influential man in Washington. Congressman, call me David. And don't be so modest. Rick said you understand how business works." Melissa cautiously moved away. "I need to use the restroom," she said. In the restroom, she splashed cold water on her face and tried to calm down. When she returned, the scene in the lounge had changed. Alexis was sitting on the couch very close to Michael Thorne, and Natasha was kissing the 3rd guest. "Melissa, come here," Stone called. He was standing by the window with a woman who had arrived with the Austin delegation. "Meet Patricia Wells. She's the district attorney." Patricia Wells was an elegant woman in her mid-40s with cold eyes and an authoritative voice. "Rick has told me a lot about you. she said, looking Melissa over. "He says you're a smart girl." "I try," Melissa replied. "That's good. In our world, smart girls live longer than stupid ones." The strange phrase made Melissa wary, but she said nothing. "Patricia is a longtime friend of ours," Stone explained. "She helps us with various administrative matters." Wells smiled coldly. "Business is business. The main thing is that everyone understands the rules of the game." Melissa nodded, not quite understanding what he was talking about. The evening continued, and the atmosphere became increasingly tense. Congressman Riley approached Melissa again. "Listen, beautiful, I'll pay you $5,000 for the night. What do you say?" "I don't do that," Melissa replied firmly. "Everyone does it. It's just that everyone has their price." Stone noticed the tension and approached them. "David, don't rush things. Melissa is still new here." "Understood," Riley nodded. "Then let's just dance for now." But his hands became too insistent again. Melissa tried to pull away, but he held her tight. "Let me go," she said louder. "Hey, don't be so hard to get," Riley laughed. "We're having a good time." "I said let go!" Stone quickly approached them. "David, maybe you should cool down." "Come on, Rick. She's just flirting." But Melissa broke free and moved to the corner of the cabin. She saw Stone whisper something to Riley, who waved his hand dismissively. "I need some fresh air," Melissa said. She went out on deck and leaned against the railing. The yacht rocked on the waves, and the lights on the shore flickered in the darkness. Melissa thought about how quickly her life had changed in the last few weeks. "Difficult evening?" She heard Alexis's voice behind her. "You could say that." Alexis came up to her. "Listen, I want to tell you something, but just between us." "What?" "Rick isn't just organizing escort services. He has a more serious business. He collects information about his clients." "What do you mean?" "See those cameras?" Alexis pointed to the inconspicuous devices installed in the corners of the salon. "They record everything that happens at these parties. Then Rick uses the recordings." Melissa felt her blood run cold. "For what?" "For control. Congressman Riley, for example, votes in Congress exactly the way Rick wants him to. Prosecutor Wells turns a blind eye to certain cases. It's very simple. But that's blackmail. It's business. Rick calls it mutually beneficial cooperation." Melissa looked through the window into the living room, where the party was still going on. Now she understood why Stone was so confident in his dealings, why no one touched him. "Alexis, did you know about this when you started working here?" "Number one, I found out by accident 6 months ago. Rick tried to convince me that it was normal, that that's how the world works." "And what did you decide?" "I decided to keep working. I have a younger brother who's in college. I need the money." "But aren't you afraid?" Alexis paused. "I am. Every day. But I know too much to just walk away." At that moment, a loud voice rang out in the salon. Congressman Riley was shouting something, waving his arms. "I'm a senator, damn it! How dare you tell me what to do?" Stone tried to calm him down, but Riley was too drunk and high on drugs. "I can shut down your dirty business with one phone call," he yelled. "David, calm down," Stone said quietly, but there was a steely tone in his voice. "Don't tell me what to do. I know what you've got on me, but I've got some cards up my sleeve too." Patricia Wells got up from the sofa. "David, you're saying too much." "And you shut up. You think I don't know you're helping him launder money through your law firm?" Stone signaled to someone off camera, and 2 large men in dark suits entered the room. "Mr. Riley needs some fresh air," Stone said. "Don't touch me. I'm a congressman." But the guards had already taken him by the arms and led him to the exit. Riley continued to shout and threaten. Melissa and Alexis watched the scene from the deck. "What's going to happen to him?" Melissa whispered. "Rick will find a way to calm him down," Alexis replied grimly. Half an hour later, the security guards returned without Riley. Stone joined the girls on the deck. Mr. Riley felt unwell, he said calmly. He was taken to the hotel. Where is he? Melissa asked. That's none of your concern, dear. You should be thinking about your future. Stone moved closer to her. Melissa, you've seen a lot today. I hope you understand that some things should remain between us. What do you mean? I mean that smart girls know when to keep quiet and stupid ones. He shrugged. Stupid girls sometimes get into trouble. Melissa felt a chill run down her spine. Is that a threat? It's friendly advice. We like you, Melissa. We want you to stay with us for a long time. The rest of the evening passed in a tense atmosphere. The guests gradually left, and the girls received their fees. Melissa took the envelope with $2,000, but the money did not make her happy. When the yacht returned to port, Melissa was one of the first to disembark. She got into a taxi and drove home, thinking about what she had seen and heard. At home, she couldn't sleep for a long time. She thought about Congressman Riley, Alexis's words, and Stone's threats. She realized that she had gotten involved in a much more dangerous game than she had thought. The next day, she met Jamie at a cafe in the city center. You look terrible, her friend said. What happened? Melissa told her about the evening on the yacht, the cameras, and the confrontation with Riley. Jamie, did you know about this? Jamie was silent for a long time, stirring her coffee. I suspected it, she finally said. But I didn't want to think about it. How can you work for a man who blackmails people? Because the alternative is worse, Jamie replied. Melissa, do you think you can just walk away? Rick doesn't let people who know his secrets go. What do you mean? Remember Christina? The girl who worked for Rick a year ago? Melissa remembered. Alexis had mentioned her in passing. She decided to get out of the business. She wanted to go to college, start a new life. And then? She got into an accident. The car veered off the road and fell into a canal. The police said she was drunk, but I know Christina. She never drank and drove. Melissa felt the blood drain from her face. You think it wasn't an accident? I think Rick doesn't like to be let down. That night, Melissa lay in bed staring at the ceiling. She thought about the money she had made, the new life she had started to build. But she also thought about Christina, about Congressman Riley, about what she had gotten herself into. She realized she was trapped. If she tried to leave, Stone could do to her what he had done to Christine. But if she stayed, she would become an accomplice to his crimes. In the morning, Stone called her. Melissa, I have a special job for you, a very important client, very good money. I'm not sure I'm ready. Darling, I think you're more ready than you think. Meet me at the yacht club at 2 o'clock today. Melissa knew it wasn't a request. It was an order. Okay, she said. I'll be there. Hanging up the phone, she looked at herself in the mirror. The girl staring back at her was no longer a naive waitress. She was a woman who knew too much and understood too little. She was trapped, and the walls of that trap were closing in on her every day. The meeting at the yacht club was scheduled for 2 o'clock, but Stone kept Melissa waiting. She sat in the club's cafe, nervously stirring her latte and watching the wealthy yacht owners. Each one now seemed like a potential client or accomplice in Stone's dirty business. Sorry I'm late, Stone said when he showed up at 3. He looked tense, which was unusual for the always collected businessman. We've had some problems with Mr. Riley. What happened to him? Melissa asked, though she wasn't sure she wanted to know the answer. He decided he could dictate terms to us. That was a mistake. Stone paused. But that's not your concern. I have an important assignment for you. They went into his office, where a thick folder lay on the desk. Senator James Wilcox, Stone said, opening the folder. Chairman of the Energy Committee, a very influential man in Washington. Melissa looked at the photo of a gray-haired man in his 60s. He's flying to Houston tomorrow for an oil conference. I need you to spend the weekend with him. At the conference? Not only, he'll have 2 days off after the conference. I rented a suite for him at the Four Seasons Hotel and reserved tables at the best restaurants in town. Stone took out another folder. This is a dossier on the senator. Study his interests, habits, preferences. He likes intelligent women, collects art, and enjoys golf. And what am I supposed to do? Be the perfect companion, show him Houston, make him feel special, but most importantly, Stone leaned closer. I need you to convince him to go with you on my private yacht on Sunday evening. Why? I have a private meeting with several investors. The senator must be present. Melissa felt uneasy. Rick, after what happened with Congressman Riley. Riley was a drunk idiot. Senator Wilcox is different. He's smart, cautious, and he has what I need. What exactly? Stone smiled coldly. Influence over the country's energy policy. My partners are willing to pay well for the opportunity to convince him of the correctness of certain decisions. Melissa realized that she was once again being used as bait for blackmail. I don't want to be involved in this. Honey, you're already involved. You know about my business, you've witnessed certain events. Now you're either with us or... He didn't finish, but the threat hung in the air. And if I refuse, then I'll have to think about how reliable you are, and unreliable people don't live long in my business. Melissa felt her breath catch. Is that a direct threat? It's reality. Melissa, you've seen how this world works. There's no room for sentimentality. Stone placed an envelope on the table. $10,000 for a weekend with the senator, plus a $5,000 bonus if everything goes smoothly. $15,000. It was a life-changing amount of money. But Melissa understood the true price of that money. I need to think about it. You have an hour. Then I'll wait for your answer. Melissa left the yacht club and got into her car. Her hands were shaking as she dialed Jamie's number. Jamie, I need to see you, right away. They met in a park near the bay. Melissa told her about her conversation with Stone, about the assignment with the senator. He openly threatened me, she said. He said that unreliable people in his business don't live long. Jamie looked scared. Melissa, I was afraid this would happen. What do you mean? Rick is getting more and more paranoid. He suspects that one of the girls might rat him out. He's especially nervous after the Riley incident. What happened to Riley? Jamie, tell me the truth. Jamie looked around to make sure no one was listening. He was found dead in a hotel this morning. Officially, it was a drug overdose. But I know Riley didn't do hard drugs. Melissa felt the world around her begin to crumble. So, Stone killed the congressman? Or had him killed? Melissa, we have to be very careful. We have to go to the police. Who? Sheriff Harris, who's on Rick's payroll? To District Attorney Wells, who helps him launder money? Melissa realized the hopelessness of the situation. Stone controlled everyone who could stop him. What should I do? Accept the assignment with the senator, but be very careful, and don't let Rick suspect you under any circumstances. Melissa returned to the yacht club and informed Stone of her agreement. He looked pleased. Excellent. The senator is arriving tomorrow at noon. Meet him at the airport. The next 2 days passed in a blur. Melissa spent her time with Senator Wilcox, showing him the sights of Houston. He turned out to be an intelligent and educated man, and Melissa found herself liking him. You're a very unusual girl, he said over dinner on Saturday. Intelligent, well-read. What are you doing in the escort business? Making a living, Melissa replied honestly. There are other ways. You don't always have a choice. Wilcox looked at her intently. Everyone has a choice. The question is whether a person is willing to pay the price for the right choice. On Sunday evening, Melissa brought the senator to Stone's yacht as planned. Several men in expensive suits were already on board, representatives of large oil companies. Welcome, Senator, Stone greeted Wilcox. I'm glad you could join us. Dinner was held in a businesslike atmosphere. The upcoming Senate votes, energy policy, and bills favorable to oil companies were discussed. Melissa sat next to the senator and saw him becoming increasingly uncomfortable. "Gentlemen, I understand your interests," Wilcox said after the main course, "but I cannot promise to support bills that I believe are harmful to the country." "Senator, we are talking about mutually beneficial cooperation," said one of the businessmen. "Our companies are ready to invest significant amounts in your state. And I appreciate that, but my vote in the Senate is not for sale." The atmosphere at the table grew noticeably colder. Stone signaled to one of the waiters, who brought a new bottle of wine. "Perhaps we should move to the lounge," Stone suggested. "We can talk more openly there." In the lounge, Melissa noticed the hidden cameras again. She realized that everything that was happening was being recorded. "Senator, let me show you something interesting," Stone said, turning on a large screen on the wall. The screen showed a recording of the previous party, the one Congressman Riley had attended. The footage showed the politician under the influence of drugs in the company of girls. "This was shortly before Mr. Riley's death," Stone said. "A sad story, an overdose." Wilcox turned pale. "What are you trying to say?" "I'm saying that in our world it's important to have friends, and it's dangerous to have enemies." The senator rose from his seat. "This is blackmail. This is an offer of cooperation. You can become our partner and receive good compensation for it. Or," Stone paused, "or you could end up like Mr. Riley." Melissa felt her breath catch in her throat. Stone had openly admitted to murder. "You're crazy," Wilcox said. "I'm calling the FBI right now." "Senator, I'm afraid you won't be leaving this yacht until we come to an agreement." Stone signaled, and 2 security guards entered the cabin. Wilcox looked at Melissa. "Young lady, are you involved in this too?" Melissa didn't know what to say. She was as much a hostage to the situation as the senator. "Melissa is a valuable employee," Stone said. "She understands how the business works." "Rick, let the senator go," Melissa said, surprising herself. "This has gone too far." Stone slowly turned to her. "What did you say?" "I said, enough. You killed a congressman, now you're threatening a senator. Where will this end?" "Melissa, you're talking nonsense." "No, I'm telling the truth. You've turned us all into hostages of your greed." The senator seized the moment and tried to make his way to the exit, but the guards blocked his path. "No one is leaving," Stone said coldly, "especially after what has been said here." He walked over to Melissa. "Darling, you have disappointed me greatly. I thought you were a smart girl." "I'm smart enough to know the difference between business and crime. In our world, they're the same thing." Stone took a small pistol from his jacket's inside pocket. "Unfortunately, unreliable employees are a threat to business." Melissa felt panic tighten her throat. "Rick, what are you doing?" "What I should have done a week ago." The senator tried to intervene. "Stop! She's just a girl." "She's a witness, and witnesses don't live long in my line of work." Stone raised the gun, pointing it at Melissa. Time seemed to slow down. She saw his finger on the trigger, the cold look in his eyes, the knowing glances of the guards. "Goodbye, Melissa." The shot rang out deafeningly loud in the confined space of the car. Melissa felt a burning pain in her chest and fell to the floor. The world around her began to darken. The last thing she heard was the senator's cry. "You killed her! My God, you killed her!" "I'll kill you too if you don't shut up," Stone replied calmly. Melissa lay on the floor, feeling the life drain from her. She thought of her mother in Beaumont, of her dreams of going to college, of all the plans that would now never come to fruition. Blood spread across the white carpet of the living room, staining it dark red. Stone leaned over her, checking her pulse. "It's over," he said to the guards. "Prepare the body for disposal." Melissa wanted to say something, but only blood came out of her mouth. She was losing consciousness, and her last thought was regret that she hadn't listened to the inner voice that had warned her of the danger. An hour later, Melissa Clark's body was dumped into the waters of Galveston Bay with a weight tied to it. Stone and his men carefully cleaned up all traces of blood in the yacht's cabin. Senator Wilcox sat in the corner under guard, realizing that he had witnessed a murder and that his life was now also in danger. "What now?" he asked in a trembling voice. "Now we make a deal," Stone replied, putting the gun in his pocket. "Either you join our business or you join Melissa at the bottom of the bay." The yacht rocked slowly on the dark waters, carrying the secrets of another crime into the night. Melissa Clark's body surfaced 3 days later near Kemah Marina, 20 miles from downtown Houston. A fisherman checking his nets early in the morning was the first to notice a pale figure bobbing in the water between the pilings of an old pier. Detective Sarah Mills arrived at the scene at 7:30 a.m. She had been working in the Houston Police Department's Homicide Division for only 3 months, having moved from Dallas after her divorce. 38 years old, 15 years on the force, a reputation as a principled and incorruptible officer. "What do we have?" she asked the patrolman guarding the crime scene. "A woman in her early 20s, gunshot wound to the chest. The body has been in the water for several days." Mills examined the body. A beautiful young woman in an expensive dress. No ID, but her nice clothes and manicured hands suggested she wasn't homeless. "Is the coroner here yet?" "On his way, but preliminary report is murder. Large caliber bullet entry wound." Mills photographed the body and the surrounding area. Something about the case bothered her, although she couldn't put her finger on it. "Detective Mills?" a familiar voice called out. She turned and saw a large man in a sheriff's uniform. "Thomas Harris, Harris County Sheriff," he introduced himself. "I hear you have a dead body here." "That's right, a young woman, murder." Harris stepped closer and looked at the body. "Probably drugs or prostitution. We've had a lot of those lately." "It's too early to tell," Mills replied. "The clothes are expensive and her appearance doesn't fit your story." "Detective, I've been working in this area for 20 years. I know what these cases look like." Mills felt irritated. The sheriff was clearly trying to steer the investigation in a certain direction. "I'll conduct a full investigation according to protocol." "Of course," Harris nodded. "Just trying to save you some time." After the sheriff left, Mills continued her examination. The victim had an expensive ring on her finger, which robbers usually take. There were marks on her wrist where an expensive watch had been, but it was gone. At the station, Mills began searching for missing persons. An hour later, she found a report filed 3 days earlier. Jamie Wilson reported her friend Melissa Clark, 22, missing. Mills contacted Jamie and asked her to come in for identification. When Jamie saw the body in the morgue, she burst into tears. "It's Melissa," she said through her tears. "My God, what have they done to her?" "Miss Wilson, I need to ask you a few questions," Mills said, leading Jamie into the interview room. "When was the last time you saw Melissa?" "On Sunday morning. She said she had work over the weekend." "What kind of work?" Jamie hesitated. "She worked as an escort for men." "An escort service?" "Yes, but it wasn't anything bad, just accompanying men to dinner and the theater." "Who was her employer?" Jamie paused again. "Richard Stone. He owns a yacht club." Mills wrote down the name. "Miss Wilson, do you have any reason to suspect anyone of murdering your friend?" Jamie looked at the detective for a long time, as if assessing whether she could trust him. "Detective, can we talk in private? Everything you say can be used in court." "I understand, but I need to know, do you really want to find Melissa's killer?" "Of course, it's my job." Jamie took a deep breath. "Then I'll tell you the truth about Richard Stone." For the next hour, Mills listened to the story of Stone's criminal network, corruption, blackmail, and murder. Jamie told her about the cameras on the yacht, the death of Congressman Riley, and a girl named Christina. Melissa wanted out of the business, Jamie concluded. She said she couldn't take part in blackmail anymore. "Do you have any evidence to back up these allegations?" "I have recordings of some phone conversations. And I know where Stone keeps the compromising material. Mills realized that this case was much more complicated than it had seemed at first. If Jamie was telling the truth, then Stone was connected to powerful people, including the local sheriff. Miss Wilson, are you ready to give an official statement? Yes, but I fear for my life. If Stone finds out, we will ensure your protection. The next day, Mills went to the yacht club to talk to Stone. He met her in his office, looking calm and confident. Detective, how can I help you? I need to talk to you about Melissa Clark. Oh yes, that poor girl. I heard what happened to her, a terrible tragedy. She worked for you? Occasionally. She helped out at corporate events, met with clients. Very nice girl. When was the last time you saw her? Friday, I think. She came in to get her paycheck. Mills wrote down every word. Mr. Stone, where were you on Sunday evening? At home with my wife. We were watching a movie. Can you provide the contact information of anyone who can confirm that? Sure, but why do you need an alibi? Are you suspecting me of murder? It's standard procedure. Stone smiled. Detective, I'm afraid you're wasting your time. Melissa worked in the mail services industry. She could have had many clients with dark tendencies. What do you mean? Well, some men pay for certain services. Sometimes those relationships end badly. Mills realized that Stone was trying to lead the investigation down a false trail. Can you provide a list of her clients? Unfortunately, that's confidential information. Without a court order, I can't disclose it. Leaving the yacht club, Mills called the district attorney's office to obtain a search warrant. But her call was answered by an assistant district attorney who said that Patricia Wells was busy until the end of the week. This is a murder case, Mills insisted. I understand, but Ms. Wells asked me to tell you that you need more substantial grounds for a warrant. Mills felt that her investigation was being deliberately obstructed. That evening, she met with Jamie at a secret location. They're blocking the investigation, Mills said. I need proof. I have a key to Alexis's apartment, Jamie said. She worked for Stone longer than anyone else. If there's any dirt, she's got it. They drove to Alexis's apartment in an upscale complex in River Oaks. But when they got to the 4th floor, the door was open. Inside, it was a complete mess. Furniture was overturned, documents were scattered across the floor, and the computer was gone. Alexis! Jamie shouted. There was no answer. They searched the apartment and found Alexis in the bathroom. She was dead, with signs of strangulation on her neck. Oh my God, Jamie whispered. He's killing all the witnesses. Mills called for backup and the crime scene investigators. While they were working at the crime scene, Sheriff Harris arrived. Another murder, he said. Looks like a drug deal gone wrong. Sheriff, this is connected to the Melissa Clark murder. Detective, don't start with conspiracy theories. We have enough ordinary crime in this town. Mills realized that Harris was actively obstructing the investigation. The next day, she received a call from an unknown number. Detective Mills, this is Senator Wilcox. I need to meet with you. It's about the Melissa Clark murder. They met at a cafe in the city center. The senator looked exhausted and frightened. Detective, I witnessed the murder of that girl. Mills barely concealed her surprise. Tell me more. Wilcox recounted the evening on the yacht, how Stone shot Melissa, the blackmail, and the corruption network. Why didn't you go to the police sooner? Stone kept me under guard for 3 days. He threatened to kill me if I said anything, but after he killed Alexis, I realized he would kill me too. Are you willing to give an official statement? Yes, but I need protection. Stone controls the local authorities. Mills contacted the FBI. The case had grown beyond the local level, given the involvement of a federal senator and corruption in law enforcement. Special Agent Michael Cole flew in from Washington the next day. He was accompanied by a team of federal agents. Detective Mills, we have reason to believe that Stone's criminal network operates in several states, Cole said. Your case is part of a larger investigation. The arrest operation began early Thursday morning. The FBI simultaneously raided the Yacht Club, Stone's home, his company's offices, and the apartments of other members of the network. Stone was arrested in his office at the Yacht Club. He did not resist but demanded a lawyer. "This is a misunderstanding," he told agents. "You have no evidence." But evidence was found. Records containing compromising material on dozens of influential people were found in Stone's safe. A computer hard drive contained financial documents showing the laundering of millions of dollars. Sheriff Harris was arrested at his home. Prosecutor Wells tried to flee but was detained at the airport with fake documents. Jamie and Senator Wilcox gave detailed testimony. Other girls from the group, Gabriella, Natasha, and Sarah, also agreed to cooperate with the investigation in exchange for reduced charges. Richard Stone's trial began 8 months later. He was charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder, organizing a criminal enterprise, blackmail, corruption, and human trafficking. Mills was sitting in the courtroom when the verdict was read. The defendant, Richard Stone, is found guilty on all counts. He is sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. Stone showed no emotion as he was led away in handcuffs. After the trial, Mills met with Melissa's mother, who had traveled from Beaumont. "Thank you," the elderly woman said through tears. "You gave my girl justice." "I'm sorry we couldn't save her," Mills replied. "But you didn't let him get away with it. That's important." Jamie received a suspended sentence and agreed to participate in a witness protection program. She planned to start a new life in another state. "Melissa was right," she told Mills as they said goodbye. "You have to have the courage to say no, even when it's dangerous." Senator Wilcox became a key witness in several other corruption cases in Washington. His testimony helped clean up Congress of several corrupt politicians. Mills was promoted and transferred to the Organized Crime Division. The Melissa Clark case was a turning point in her career, but sometimes, late at night, she thought about the young woman who had dreamed of a better life and paid the ultimate price for her dreams. Melissa Clark became a symbol, a reminder that even in the darkest circumstances, there are people willing to fight for the truth. Stone's criminal empire was destroyed, but the memory of its victims lived on. And that memory served as a warning to those who thought that money and power put them above the law.